All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Player B podcast. My name is Marcus Mercer, as always, joined by Rob Levins. Rob, how we doing?
Better than I deserve, sir. How about yourself?
No complaints here. No complaints here. So we're get a little chance to talk some golf. So that's always a good part of the week here. And wish we were playing, but we can talk about it at least. So
I mean, that's a good segue into our normal weather update. It is a balmy 51 degrees here in Columbus, Ohio.
It's funny. I had a phone call, like a conference call with somebody we work with today, and I know he plays golf, and I was like, if there wasn't all this snow on the ground that's trying to melt, we could have had this. We could have made this a 9-hole meeting instead of a conference call.
Yep, pretty much. But as Ohio is, we have the White Death moving in. Apparently, we're going to have snow and ice. The meteorologist says anywhere from 2 to 48 inches. The nice broad, all over the map.
I was going to say that the snow is one thing. The ice is even way worse. It's not looking forward to that. But should have got out and hit some balls or something today. But work and life just get in the way sometimes, I guess.
We got jobs. We got to figure out a way to fuel our range habits. So
I know something's got to pay for all the golf we got going on here. So
right.
So we were texting a little bit. It's been a while since the two of us hopped on a podcast. We've had a bunch of guests recently, which has been awesome. Loved hearing talking to these folks and hearing their stories and all that kind of stuff. But figured we would catch up a little bit tonight. And it's been a while since just the two of us talked a little bit.
Yeah, I say we've been a popular podcast, so it's always, like you said, it's always nice to have. It's like, well, why don't we just hop on and kind of do what we intended with this podcast and just shoot the breeze and chit chat. So
we'll shoot the breeze, like you said, and it's kind of a perfect time to do this because we'll get into it, but you had a little fitting. You went, I shouldn't say little fitting. You went and tested some new irons and things like that. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
The PGA Tour season is kind of underway. I've heard several people say this, and I kind of feel the same way. It's like Torrey Pines kind of always the farmer's insurance kind of is that's they play out in Hawaii and things like that, but I feel like this is always the real start to the PGA Tour season.
Yeah. Torrey is especially. I mean, I'm just going to toot my own horn here. Normally, the Bengals are done playing by now, and so Torrey crowns it as when I start paying attention to golf. But the Bengals are still playing, so
I was wondering when this was going to come up.
So golf will have to sit the back burner for at least a couple more weeks until those Bengals can. Go out to LA.
Here's what I will say about the Bengals. I'm very happy that you're getting to experience this.
Yeah.
But as I was sitting there watching on TV, my wife looked at me and she's like, "Why aren't you happy? You want to see a team from Ohio do well?" I said, "No, I don't.
No. Right.
I'm happy for my friends that are Bengals fans. I'm happy for Joe Burrow, but I want nothing to do with watching the Bengals in the Super Bowl."
Exactly. People are like, "Well, don't you just root for your division at this point?" It's like, no, not at all. Not in the slightest. No. So it was the first half was the tale of two halves for the Bengals on the game for sure. I was texting some of my friends that are Bengals fans, and I was like, "Is Vontaze Burfict available for a 1-game contract? Can we just get him back on the payroll to take care of Mahomes for a hot second?" But
like I said, we drove home. We were out of town for a quick little road trip. Got back. I think I got back just before the first quarter ended, so I saw some of that, and we turned on TV. We're unpacking a little bit, and it was 21-3. And I looked at my wife. I was like, "Wow, this one's about over." And I sat down here. She went upstairs and did some stuff and unpacked and whatever. And I sat downstairs and watched it. And they came all the way back. I mean, everybody knows what happens, but she came back right as overtime started. And she's like, "What happened?" She's like, "You said it was over."
Most people thought it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was towing the line. I'm like, "Is it too early for the bourbon? Because this is pretty much over. I need to forget about this." But Joey B.
Yeah, I mean, Joe. I hate so much that he plays for one of my division rivals because I genuinely like Joe Burrow. I think everybody does, unless
he doesn't have a hateable personality as of yet. So who's to say that doesn't come out in a few years? But as of right now, he's pretty tough to hate.
He's so good. He has a great personality. Everything you read about the guy is that he's genuinely a good dude. And
Yeah.
I this is gonna age me or date me, but I did see one of the Ohio State accounts. I can't remember who it was. Tweeted like a congratulations, and it was Joe Burrow. It was like his elementary class picture, and it was like Joe Burrow class of 2008. He graduated elementary school in 2008. I was like, well,
whoa!
I was 2 years out of college at that point.
Yeah, right. You start crunching numbers and doing math. You're like, oh wow, yikes!
Yeah, gosh, I'm way too old. So anyway, but good for your Bengals.
Yeah, not a football podcast, but
good for you, not for the Bengals.
Yeah. But yeah, there was some professional golf being played, and so that was on this weekend. But yeah, like you said, Torrey's kind of where people kind of start paying attention to golf a little bit more, and it was a fun event. I didn't watch a ton of it. I think you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit. We watched Saturday. We got to see the excitement of the back nine at Torrey, and
so what do you think about the Saturday finish? Because they played
I was so confused.
Wednesday through Saturday this week to finish up, so that they wouldn't be up against AFC NFC championship games. So
yeah, I was utterly confused because I turned it on and they were interviewing Luke List, and they're like, boy, how did it feel to make that putt on 18 when you absolutely had to have it? And I'm thinking, had to have it. You got 18 more tomorrow. I'm like, and then I looked and it said he fired a 66 and said final round. And I'm like, are they doing a Saturday finish so they don't have to contend with the NFL?
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes more sense. So, I mean, good for them. It's a smart decision. I mean, I wasn't going to watch. I mean, I barely watched golf this week. So when it ended on Saturday, I wouldn't have watched it if it was on Sunday. So
yeah, it was funny because I had it on, again, it started on Wednesday, so I would have it on a little bit in the office here while I'm sitting here working, not paying super close attention, but it's always nice to have San Diego views on TV while you're sitting here and it's 30 degrees and snowing in Ohio. But I mean, I don't know. I kind of liked it. I don't think they'll do more of that, but at least not regularly anyway. It was kind of cool that the only thing, makes it a little bit tough is that, being out west, they're finishing kind of in that prime time slot on a Saturday evening when, I didn't see the finish because went out to dinner with the wife and all that kind of stuff. So, kind of competing against life at that point, but
a Saturday night finish isn't much better than a Sunday competing with other sports finish. So it's kind of like, what are you gonna, what do you want to go up against? So, but it was exciting.
It was an exciting finish. Yeah, we had our boy Will Zalatoris coming down the stretch looking like he was going to win it and couldn't pull it out. So
that was he's got I mean, as a fellow arm lock guy, that putting stroke of his is a little twitchy. I thought that was the whole point of getting rid of the twitches was the arm lock, but holy smokes, he's living proof that you can still twitch with the arm lock. So that was rough to watch, but just goes to show how good he was hitting it to be putting that poorly and still like be in contention and be leading the tournament. So it's like,
what'd you say? You said, looking at his scorecard, he made 9 pars in the back 9.
yeah. Just like boring golf. Just like, and most of it, I think I watched from like 14 on. I think it was just like 2 putts. Like he hit every green. It was just like 2, like, it wasn't like, he missed the green, has to get up and down. He was just center of the green, would lag like a 30-footer close, tap in for par. It was like, that's, and then all of a sudden that hole starts to look smaller and smaller. He had a good look on 18. So, I mean, but
you had Jason Day tracked him down, dunking one on gosh, what was that? 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 15.
Made a big bird from 125 yards out, dunked it, and tied it up, and then you had Luke List in front of those guys who got in the house tied for the lead, and
had to sit for 2 hours.
Had to sit for 2 hours sitting before the playoff. But he made an unbelievable putt on 18 to get him to that to that number. So
it was exciting to watch. But it was, and Rahm was kind of lurking because I mean I've heard he loves Torrey.
Have you heard
plays
that?
well. I've heard he said it a couple times, I think. But I think he doesn't know what it is about that San Diego weather and like a great manicured course, but he just loves the course, loves it.
Which did you enjoy more, seeing Rahm fall out of contention or seeing Justin Rose dump it in the pond on 18?
It was a pretty positive day for me to see that collapse. I was just when I saw him hit that necky 3-wood and I saw the ripples, I'm like, oh, that was exciting. It was a good weekend for sports in my household because I got to watch Rosie and Rahm collapse, and then the Bengals won Sunday. I'm like, this is great.
Well, how does life get any better?
You're right. Doesn't get much better than this. So
it's funny because I before we hopped on here, I told you it feels like 2 years ago since I played Torrey, and it's only been about a month and a half. But right. I was kind of reliving how I played some of those holes as I was watching.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about this in the pod. The only legitimate water on that course besides the Pacific Ocean is that pond on 18. It's the only trouble, outside of, the rough and stuff like that. But watching Rose dump it in that pond, I felt like we were soulmates or soul brothers or something like that at that point, because I think I texted you guys. I was like Justin Rose and I are basically the same. We both dumped it in that little pond, and no, he made a bogey. I found a way to make a par, but that pond, I texted you guys, that pond is not as big as it looks on TV. It is a small pond.
Well, when they do the aerial of it, and you're like, okay, it's not. It seems big because it's such a big factor when they have that pin up front left. But when they do the aerial, you're like, it's like a quarter of the size of the green. Like it's not a big pond whatsoever. It's just placed in a spot where it's a huge risk reward.
I would say it's, I don't know, significantly maybe over exaggerating, but it is smaller than it. I was looking at it on TV. I was like, it is not as big as what it looks right now on TV.
Yeah.
And so I texted you guys. I was like, that makes it even more impressive when you dump it in that pond. But
you're like, man, it's not even, shouldn't even be in play, but it is.
Exactly. But luckily I found a way to, I put one up there with my 60 degree to about a foot and tapped in for a par. So I did better than Justin Rose, but
right. Yeah.
So no, it was cool to, I mean, it, like we said, it's always kind of the official start of the PGA Tour season. It's always sunny and 60 some degrees out there in San Diego, and it's miserable weather here in February, late January, early February in Ohio. So it's just
you're always kind of looking at it and wishing you were there, and then you get to play it. So
yeah, exactly. So it's fun to watch, but yeah, glad tour season's starting now. They're on to Pebble, and soon enough we'll have the shit show that is the Phoenix Open, the Waste Management Open, and
and it'll be us. It'll be time for us to go out there and hit it, which will be fun. So,
well, I mean, I guess we could. That's probably a good segue. It's
not my first rodeo on these segues.
I was going to say you're a seasoned vet. We have some golf planned already. I know it's probably a couple months away from any actual golf being played, but I think we kind of hinted at it when we had Bill from Penn, Ohio on here not too long ago, but we're working on some things with Penn Ohio Golf Trail. We're going to kick off the golf season by spending a weekend up there and playing a handful of courses, I believe. Yeah. I don't think we have the courses reserved yet, but Bill set us up with a place to stay, and we're going to go up and create some content and have some fun and probably play some matches against each other and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it should be a good time. It we had some busy schedules, so we started knocking away April weekends, and we're like, boy, the only April weekend that really is going to work is that first weekend in April. So we kind of are going to be weather watching, and we may have to bring several different layers. We might have to bring some rain gear, some cold gear, because you just don't know what you're going to get in that neck of the woods in early April. So it could be 50, 60 degrees. It could be us being on a frost delay, not being able to hit it till 10 o'clock in the morning. So we'll just have to kind of see what we get. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's awesome that Bill and Penn Ohio is able to take care of us like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Bill. He's the man. He's taking care of us. And it's funny side note, since Bill mentioned on the podcast that they had a group that heard about them on the podcast on an episode.
Mm-hmm.
I have since had another gentleman reach out and ask for needing some recommendations in Western PA, and I sent him Bill's way. So it's good to hear that people are listening.
People are listening to us
and want to go over and experience some of the courses and all that kind of stuff. But we need to figure out. So I believe, again, the agenda is not set, but we're probably going to play 3 rounds. We need to figure out either some games or some contests or how we're gonna create some matches. But I think I told who was I talking to that I think I said I needed probably about 6 to 8 strokes from you if we're going to play some matches. So
I could do that. I think that's fair.
I figured you were going to have. I don't know about 8. That seems a little high. I figured you were going to.
We might split the difference, go like 7. And if we're playing a few rounds, we got time to reevaluate after that first initial one. So you'll have to strike early.
We'll have to figure out, and who knows what kind of game I'm going to bring to the table in early April, and maybe the first time we get outside to actually play. So
it'll be interesting because I'm sure the game will be simulator sharp, but I don't know how much it'll be real golf, real go hit it, go find it, and hit it again type.
Yeah,
exactly. We'll see.
We haven't even talked about this or texted about this offline, but we need to figure out what we're going to do. We're going to play match play. We're going to set up some sort of quota game or I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do there.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is it's April and it's just the 1st of February today is when we're recording
2 months away from today.
So we got a little bit of time to talk formats and all that other fun stuff that you want to do on golf trips. But yeah, I mean, this is what golfers do. They plan these things out months in advance and then just lead up to them every day, consume it and talk about it and drive your wife nuts.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. It's what's funny is I haven't even thought about this till just now, but thinking back to, I had never seen this played before, but the No Laying Up guys did golf poker that one time that one match at, I think it was at Tobacco Road actually.
I think so. Yeah. It was like Sully, Randy, and DJ, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they would like call it, after you hit a shot, those guys
could be interesting. I guess now that I'm thinking through it, they had 3 guys instead of 2. So
they always usually come up with pretty interesting formats to kind of keep it lively. So yeah, we may have to dive into the YouTube archives and watch some of their stuff to see what they do, because they always do the strap stuff. They always do the quota where it's like they like take away their handicap from, I can't remember. I got to go check what they basically do like a Stableford.
Right.
And I think they double par, or I can't remember what it is. Like they take away their handicap away from double par, and that's how many points they need to get or something like that. So that could be another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we got some time to look up.
We got some time to figure it out. If anybody has any ideas on what they would like to see, because we're going to, hopefully the idea is to shoot a little bit of video. I don't know. Neither one of us, I don't think, are videographers, but
not in the slightest. No.
The plan is to set up probably 3 rounds, 3 contests, maybe a cumulative, contest over the 3 rounds, something like that. And the idea is to, record a podcast after each round, talk about the round, talk about the course, all that good stuff. But we may shoot some video and see how that goes and whatever. But if there's any games or different iterations of games or whatever you have for 2 guys over a series of 3 rounds, let us know. We'd love to hear it. So leave us.
I'll have to think of something. I have to maybe dig out some old rule sheets for games I did when I was in the golf business. See if I can find
there you go.
So, but plenty of time to figure something out. But it'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
So we were, going through schedules. We settled on April 1st because, like you said, life and work schedules got in the way real quick. I have a busy month of April with work and events going on there, and then May we're looking at another trip to Lexington. So we figured it would be tough to do back to back golf weekends. So
We said that it would be doable for us. It would be tough on our marriages.
Yeah.
So yeah,
probably not the best idea to be gone back-to-back weekends playing golf.
yeah, on overnights nonetheless. So yeah, I think
at least when we're
probably
not
smarter
getting
we're doing
paid to do it.
right.
Yeah. So we
that one will be a fun one too.
We have that one planned, and then we've hinted at it a bunch, but we haven't made any sort of plans. But there's talks of a trip in June as well. We talked to Billy about maybe getting down to North Carolina, Pinehurst area, and seeing what they have to offer. So we need to
we got
some planning on that front. So
we got some golf on the books for 2022. I was
going to say it's February 1st, and the schedule has filled up pretty quick for the spring and early part of summer. So
yeah, we're already planning. We're already in like, well, what about June? Like, I don't know, like maybe mid-June, late June. It's like, it's February. How are we talking about like our first available is June? So, but it'll be, yeah, I'm looking forward to Lexington. We're playing the UK or Kentucky's courses. There's 36 holes. I think it's like Wildcat and Big Blue.
That sounds right.
So I'm not organizing it, thank goodness. So I don't have to worry about it. I just have to know when to show up and when my tee time is. So
I was going to say, I was talking through this. We're doing 4 rounds, right? We're doing 1 Friday, 36 Saturday, and 18 on Sunday.
Yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, it'll be lots of golf. So that 36 holes are always a marathon, but I think we're modifying the formats where it's like one round's going to be like a 2-person scramble and alternate shot. So it's not going to, hopefully it won't be as strenuous as just playing your own ball for 72 holes in a weekend, because none of us are professional athletes, and I don't think we can do that. So
yeah. Speaking of alt shot, we were texting about it earlier today. No Laying Up guys posted some videos of playing an alt shot tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I want to play in one of those so bad. I've never played like the alt shot format, and it seems like it could be a lot of fun. It could be a lot of me apologizing, but I've played in a couple 2-man alt shot tournaments with some buddies, and that's usually like rule number 1: don't apologize, because you're going to put me in some spots where you feel bad, and I'm going to put you in some spots where I feel bad. So it's just the nature of the format, and just deal with it. So that's usually rule 1: don't apologize. But you could be miss some short putts. Yeah, if you miss some short putts in alt shot, that calls for an apology. Yeah, so. You missed the tap in. It's like,
yeah.
So tough scene. But plenty of golf planned already. It's hopefully it's coming sooner rather than later. So hopefully we get outside and get a round or 2 in before we head up to Penn Ohio.
Yeah. And then I signed up for the amateur tour event here, so I got a competitive round the weekend after that. So it's
that's
April
right.
9th.
And I'm going to be out of town for work that weekend, so I'm going to need some updates on how that goes. It's
just follow, get on the Golf Genius app and do live scoring. Hopefully, I'm in a commanding lead, kind of out of the gates sprinting. So on the historic Safari Golf Club.
I just want you to win it and ask, where's my big check?
Yeah, I'll take one of those. I don't care.
I'll take one of those. But so and we haven't even touched on Golf League yet, so we got that going on.
That's right. Lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff, but it'll be good.
It'll be good. And it sounds like we won't give too much away yet, but it sounds like they're making some format changes to our Thursday night men's league as well. So
yeah, that's kind of tentative. I mean, the format, it sounds like it's a done deal, but then there's some other stuff that they're kind of kicking around. So that'll be more details to come.
More to follow.
Yeah.
So
the phone will be going crazy, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the group text started up early this year. I feel like it did. Got going, mid to early January, I would say. So
yeah, which is a little aggressive, but I'll take it. I mean, good to see everybody's excited about it.
Exactly. I think everybody's feeling like we are. It's like, man, we just want to get outside and play some golf. So
yeah.
But and so I guess we can wrap up with this. But you were texting me. You scheduled a fitting. Tested some new irons. So I purposely haven't asked you much about it. I wanted to save it for the podcast, but I'm interested to hear how that went, what you hit, numbers you saw, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I got something in the mail from like a Golf Galaxy that basically had said, hey, Callaway's rolled out some new equipment. We'd love for you to come schedule a fitting and just hit the new product. And it was a free 1 hour fitting. So I'm like, okay,
sure,
invested in. I can go do that. No problem. So yeah, booked it. Booked a time from like 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, went out there, and I felt really bad because I don't think the fitter knew that I didn't pay for this. So I really had no skin in the game. And it was a Callaway only event. So it wasn't like there was TaylorMade paying Titleist. It was just like Callaway that day. So they were pushing the Callaway product. And when we were going back to the TrackMan, the guy was like, so what are you in the market for? And I'm like, nothing really. I'm like, I'm really happy with all my clubs. I was like, but just figured it's a fitting and see what you guys got. So I was like, I guess if anything, irons. So I was like, I'm happy with my driver. That's new. I'm like, wedges and all that stuff. I'm content with. I'm like, irons are probably 5-6 years old. So we hit the. He asked me the standard questions. What do you normally shoot? How far do you carry this? And then he put me in the Rogue ST Pro, which is kind of one of their newer irons. Looks like a blade, but it's got some help down there with some weight to get the ball up. But I kind of knew, I did some research going into it. What a lot of the manufacturers will do is they're just going to strengthen the lofts and tell you how much further you're hitting it. So I knew that going into it. But yeah, I looked at the lofts of a Callaway 7-iron was basically the equivalent of my 6-iron. So ultimately I kind of knew I'm going to hit the Callaway irons further. So I just had to make sure that the other numbers weren't crazy, like the launch, the spin, the landing angle, and all that stuff. So I hit a few, and the fitter was like, warm up with your 7-iron. So I hit a few balls, and I haven't touched a club in a few weeks, so there was some rust. And he's like, all right, go ahead and hit this one. And like, obviously now I'm kind of warmed up. I'm able to find the center of the club face. And he's like, boy, you're hitting, look at these numbers. And I'm like, yeah, I am hitting a lot better, but I'm also kind of loosened up. So I went back to my 7-iron and so to kind of get some comparable numbers. But to be honest, I was pretty impressed with the product. I hit like I said, the Rogue ST Pros, and I probably gained 15 to 20 yards in the air with them, which I told him it's almost like not ideal because I don't want to sit there and Cadillac it in a men's league and watch the ball sail over the green. So
I'm pretty well dialed in with what I got. Now I got to count for 15 more yards.
Right. It's not like it's a couple of yards here or there. I mean, that's 15, 20 yards in the air. So I was like, I hit a couple of 7-irons. I was carrying them like $180. So I'm like, that's not normal. And luckily he had the TrackMan up there, so I was able to kind of see, landing angle, launch, and everything was pretty comparable to what my 7-iron was doing. The only thing that was a little off was the spin. It was kind of low, and I told him that's kind of what I was worried about. But it was pretty funny. I highly doubt he's going to listen to this, so I could give him a little bit of crap for it. He was like, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that spin number. It's probably off. I'm like, it's TrackMan. I don't think it is off.
It's a $20,000 machine, pal. It's not off.
Yeah. And it was just funny because he's like pointing out all the other numbers that we're going to like bend. He's like, well, look at that carry. And I'm like, well, if the spin's off, should I really invest in the carry yardage? Like, is that number off? And so that's kind of why I went back to my other club, my 7-iron, because I'm pretty dialed in with those numbers. So I hit my 7-iron and I was like, well, the spin with my 7-iron is pretty much what I'm used to seeing. So I think the spin's right. And I'm just a little worried that the new irons are they're going further because the spin's down. And basically what's going to help the ball stop is backspin. So I'm like, my fear is, I catch a flyer out of the rough that, this thing's just going to go 200 yards in the air or land $180 and just not stop because there's no spin on it. And he was like, well, no, look at this landing angle. So he's trying to kind of overcome any objective like any good fitter would do. But yeah, I was impressed with the clubs, but I mean, they're pricey and I don't think I really need them. I mean, I like the product. They looked good. They felt good. They produced pretty good numbers. It was just that one factor, the spin, that is just, I've said it before, like when you play golf, there's so many things that are on the golf course that will take spin off of your golf ball, like the rough, you're not going to, so spin is your way to control a golf ball. And so if I have a club that is producing less spin, and then I put that in an element of, you go play in the morning, there's dew on the ground. Now you catch a flyer. So like the golf course is constantly taking away spin one way or the other, be it through conditions or elements. So the last thing I want to do is, that's why I use like a regular, like kind of similar to like a Pro V1. Like I don't use the X. I want as much spin as I can possibly get, because I know that when I play, the rough is going to take spin off. I'm going to catch a flyer that carries further, or I'm playing in the morning or during a rainstorm or something like that. There's water on my ball. The ball is going to spin less, so I'm going to have less control over it. So my thing is like, I don't want a super charged 7-iron that goes $180, but it might also go $165, or it might go $190. And so like, I just want my dispersion to be tighter. So I don't think that what I hit was going to kind of produce the consistency that I was looking for. I mean, the distance wise, it was great, but like over time, I don't know how tight my dispersion would be. So I don't know.
Did you, when you went into this, I guess what I'm asking is, did the guy know your background in the golf business?
Yeah,
I'm assuming you didn't know it before.
Yeah.
Did you discuss that at all?
Yeah, I kind of let him go through his shtick of telling me what numbers I needed to look at on TrackMan. And then he started looking through my bag, and he's like, "Oh, you got some blades in here?" And okay, yeah, it's a pretty good swing. And he's like, "What's your average score?" and stuff like that. And he could kind of tell when I was pointing out, he didn't like, when we hit a couple balls, he was just pointing out the distance and the ball speed. He was talking to me about that. I'm like, yeah, those numbers are great. I go, but my biggest thing is like my landing angle. And so I pointed out other numbers on TrackMan. And then I finally told him like, hey, I used to be in the golf business. I was like, I taught and I did fittings with TrackMan. He's like, oh, okay. And so his tone switched pretty quick after that, where it was, okay, I don't really think I can't really sell this guy on numbers, because he kind of knows them. And I told him like, yeah, I had to do like TrackMan University, where you get like certified to understand TrackMan and all those variables. So I probably knew just as much as he did. He probably knew obviously more on the product of Callaway stuff, yeah. But as far as what numbers needed to be and what they meant, I was right there with them. So
I figured that was the case, and I've always kind of wondered how that goes when somebody like you who has the knowledge goes in for a fitting. And do you tell them up front? Do you kind of feel them out a little bit, and then drop the hammer on them, or what? But,
he was like, he wasn't pushy with like, hey, let's get these today, or hey, if you buy them today, it's 10% off or 15% off. He was just like, well, what do you think? And I kind of told him what I told you. I'm like, I like the carry, I like the landing angle, but the spin is a little worrisome. So he's like, well, let's try this shaft. And he threw a different shaft in, and he's like, all right, well, let's try. And he actually had me hitting one of the irons that wasn't in like the new launch. It was like their Apex blade. So it was like a pure blade. And I was like, nah, I mean, I don't need a new set of blades. I have some that I can't hit anyway, so I don't need to buy new blades. So, but yeah, it was a fun experience. It's cool to go in there and be able to kind of test out the latest and greatest. But yeah, it's one of those things where golf equipment is so gosh darn expensive, where it's like, can I justify spending this much money on 10, 15 yards of carry? Like what, over the season of golf, what's that really going to relate to? So what I really wanted to do was, he was having me hit my 7-iron that wasn't really like against that Callaway 7-iron. Where I wanted to do, and I wish I would have done this, was just grab my 6-iron and said, okay, now let's compare these numbers and see what the spin was and what the ball landing angle was and that type of thing, and see. But I don't think he would have I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't have cared. It wasn't like he was getting like a commission on this. The Callaway probably paid him by the day or by the hour, so
Yeah.
he didn't care. But yeah, that was one thing I wish I would have done, was just hit it against a 6-iron, because the lofts, I looked online, and the loft of my 6-iron was like 30, I think 30.5 is what Titleist says. And Callaway's 7-iron that I was hitting was like 31.5 or like 31. So it was like pretty comparable to my 6-iron. So I would have liked to have seen those numbers, but I don't know. I might reach out to Ben at Worthington. Shout out to Ben at Worthington. See if they got that in the Callaway fit cart, and I can go test those numbers out. So
there we go. So was it a Callaway, like a Callaway fitter that was there, or was it a Golf Galaxy employee?
So it was a Callaway fitter that, I think, if I understood correctly, it's basically, he's like a traveling fitter, like around the central Ohio area. All the manufacturers will do that, where they basically just need, they'll let the sales reps have, I don't know, let's just say 10 fitters. And that Callaway rep knows that he's going to have an event at that Golf Galaxy and at PGA Superstore. So he can kind of say, hey, Marcus, I need you in Dublin today. Rob, I need you down in Canal Winchester, like wherever it may be. And so they kind of work as like 1099s, I'm guessing, is how that is. So I think some of the Golf Galaxy employees, I mean, week in and week out, they're going to fit too. So they have the ability to do it. But I think those big events where you had to make appointments, they're bringing Callaway's guys in because they know the product. They know the product, that type of thing. Yeah.
If you walk in on a random Tuesday night, you're probably going to be working with a Golf Galaxy employee rather than a Callaway fitter. But it's interesting because I know nothing about the fitting process other than I've seen some YouTube videos of guys going through the education process of becoming a fitter and all that. And it's, I don't know if it's intense. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's just so many variables when it comes to fitting somebody for the correct set of golf. Shafts and lie angles and just all kinds of stuff. It's incredible. I mean,
it really is. Yeah. I mean, it's, probably, gosh, I mean, and that's kind of what you start out with your fitting with, like, what tendencies do you have? What shot shape do you like to see? And then you can kind of start to narrow down your selection of what you're going to put them in. But to your point, it's like lie angle, length of club. Like some people are plus a half inch short, plus a half inch long, upright, flat, so all that stuff. So there's a ton of stuff that you can tinker with and tweak. So,
what's funny about that is I've realized this, and I don't think I've ever told you this. I'm looking at my couple putters that I have up here in my office, and I have an Odyssey White Hot that I bought. I never got fitted for. I bought that I used for years, and last year I got Scotty, and the Scotty is probably I think it's an inch shorter than the Odyssey that I was using. And I'm realizing that Odyssey was clearly an inch too long. Like I was not, I go back to it when I'm just messing around up here and I'm like, this is not comfortable. Like I don't feel good with this.
Right.
But I just didn't know any better at the time. Like I bought it and just what I used.
You're like, this one's available. It's left-handed. I'm just going to use this now.
I bought it online. It's like, okay. So I used it for a couple of years, but I mean, to your point, it's like even length of clubs and lie angles and different shaft materials and shaft stiffnesses. And it's just, there's so many variables and to have to consider all that. And it's, I mean, every single person is different. So may have a different combo of shafts and what, all that kind of stuff. It's beyond my knowledge base, I guess is the best way to say it. So
you can, I mean, it also a lot of times it depends on the person that you're fitting. Some people want the whole, like, give me everything. I want to hit it all. And like, as a fitter, you kind of have to draw them back in. It's like, well, I'd like to see my family at some point today. So I'm not going to let you hit every option. So let's see what's like I probably could have been a little bit more with that guy. Like let me hit this shaft. Cause he put me in, I don't know. He saw what I was playing and he's like, I want to put you in like a lighter shaft. Is that okay? I'm like, I don't care. Cause again, I knew going into it that I was like, I'm not going to buy anything, and I didn't spend money for the fitting. So I'm like, I'm probably not the ideal person. Where there's some people that are like, well, yeah, sure. I want to hit this. I want to hit that. Where I'm like, he gave me something that was like 20 grams lighter than what I'm playing. And he's like, is this, how does that feel? I'm like, feels a little lighter. Like it's not like I couldn't play it. But yeah, I'm like, there was really no reason that I ever went to the weighted shaft that I had in my irons. It was just, when I got out of the business, that's what I fit myself into, and that's what I like the feel of, and that's what I did. And that's what I told him. I'm like, you could give me a 70-gram graphite shaft, and if I'm hitting it better and I'm getting better numbers, I'll play that. It's not like I'm married to the idea of like, oh, I need this weighted shaft, I need this, I need that. It's like, if I'm getting better numbers and it makes sense, I'll use whatever. I don't care. So
well, that's the whole. We talked about it last year, I think, when we were going through what's in our bag, and everybody always gave me shit for my 5-wood. It's like, up until this, I didn't hit it very well this last year, but it's like, why would I get rid of a club that I know I'm pretty consistent with and going to hit well?
Yeah.
Who cares what it is? It could be a block
Right.
of wood and a stick for all. Yeah. If it goes straight and I know where it's going to go, then
right.
Let's use it.
If I know it, if I know how far it's going to carry, and I know, normally the shot pattern that comes with it, well, I don't really need to change it. So yeah. It was a fun experience, but I was just not really, I wasn't like I wasn't really even a warm lead for the salespeople out there. I was just more of a cold lead walking in. So the guy was like, I think he got picked up on that pretty quick, because the fitting was an hour long, which would have been forever had I really wanted to do a fitting. And so it was about 30 minutes into it, and I was like, I think I've hit, like, I had the gist of it. Like, everything was pretty consistent with the numbers that I was seeing. I think I told my wife, Lauren, I was like, in an hour, I probably hit, minus the 5, like, warm-up shots I hit, I think I probably hit maybe 20, 25 golf balls. And like, so that was it. It was just like, hit a few. He's like, all right, what did you see? What did you like? What did you not like? And hey, was that a good one? Can we toss? There's a couple where I'm like, it was off the toe, just delete it, because that's not really, I'm not going to get anything out of that. Yeah. But yeah, most of it was just kind of talking to him, seeing what I liked and what I didn't like. So,
and that's saying something, because last time you and I went over to Worthington and hit some balls in the simulator, you were sweating. You didn't take any breaks.
Yeah. I might as well have lined up like 12 balls and just gone down the line, just bam, 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 bam.
You were trying to see how many you could fit in that 45 minutes that we were out there.
Yeah,
so.
that was very true. Yeah, this one was a much different feel. I was like, hit a few, see what I like. But yeah, I mean, they're good clubs if you're in the market for irons. And I mean, we're obviously not sponsored by any stretch, but I mean, hey, if it so happens that we get a little call from a Callaway rep, that's fantastic.
Exactly. If anybody knows a guy.
Yeah. But no, they're good looking clubs. They sound good. They feel great. I mean, I just don't need to spend over $1,000 on a set of irons right now. So, for that matter.
Yeah. You know what I've realized recently, and maybe I'm just paying more attention to it. Watching the last couple of years of when the new drivers come out, a new manufacturer put out the new drivers every year at the beginning of the year, and how much people pay attention to the sound of golf clubs and how much that makes a difference to certain folks. TaylorMade sounds like this and Callaway sounds like that. And it's a selling point almost for certain folks, the way clubs sound. So I don't think I ever took that into consideration before.
Yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of people. Yeah, especially with drivers. I mean, you're paying $500-$600. I mean, you better like every aspect.
Yeah,
of it.
Right.
Like I better like the way it looks, the way it performs, the way it sounds, the way it fits in my golf bag, like the whole 9 yards. But yeah, and a lot of companies will put a lot of stock into the acoustics of their club. I mean, yeah, they've said that the new Stealth has that, like, the carbon wood. Don't get me started on TaylorMade stuff, but they said they said it sounds like more like hollow, kind of like more of like a persimmon type club. Like, it doesn't have like a loud ting. So that's their selling point, was, just sounds carbony. Where if you look at like the old square-headed drivers. If you ever hit one of those things,
Sasquatch.
that sounds, that thing. If you're able to get your hands on that, go hit a Sasquatch driver and listen to that sound. I mean, you get heads turning on a golf course when you hit one of those. Those sounded like aluminum bat.
I remember those things, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to hit the ball so far with this."
Oh man,
they just looked
hideous.
Ridiculous when you look back on it now.
They were hideous, but I mean, people played them. I mean, I'm sure in 10 years at some point, golf kind of goes full circle. I'm sure they'll have a square-headed driver in 10 years, and we'll talk about how we've never thought of this before. So
probably indirectly thank Tiger for that. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't remember him ever playing a Sasquatch, but he
played the normal shape, but
yeah, he influenced Nike golf. That's for sure. So
I think the only one that I saw on tour was Lucas Glover. That guy played a square-headed driver. He played he was on staff with Nike. So he played the square model, and that thing just sounded like an aluminum can. It was bad, but
it's, I mean, I know, the manufacturer, like they hire sound engineers now, and they put so much research into that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you watch guys like Rick Shields and Mark Crossfield, and that's one of the first things they always mention is the sound.
They always talk about the sound. Yeah. Because it's like some people, and Mark Crossfield talks about it a lot. Like the caliber player kind of dictates what they want to hear. Like, because he had said, he's like, my mom who's 67 or 70 years old, she doesn't want to hear like a hollow kind of a dead sound, like a carbon or a muted sound, because it sounds like it's like, oh, it's like a dead bat. Like it just doesn't sound like it's going to go very far. Where she may like the tingy ping sound because it sounds like it's just really going far.
Yeah.
Where, somebody who's really hits a hard ball and gets it moving, they don't mind that kind of muted sound and like that kind of that duller sound. So yeah, it's crazy. So much that's maybe they cut the cost of drivers if they just fire the sound engineers.
I was going to say that's probably why they cost $500, $600 now, is because they have 8 sound engineers on staff that are researching this 24 hours a day.
It's insane. I remember when I first got into got into the golf business, and even before that, I remember companies would come out with like a driver A and driver B, and driver A was always $299.99. And driver B was like $199.99. And so it'd be like, okay, here's our less bells and whistle version was $199.99. And our like premier players driver is $299.99. And then a few years later, it's, option B $9.99 and option A is $399.99. And now it's like $699.99 versus $599.99. So it's great. And then again, I just being on the side of the golf business of seeing what these manufacturers charge us, and so seeing what true cost is, I'm like, I go into a place like a box store, like a Golf Galaxy or a PGA Superstore. I'm like, I can't justify a $1,100 set of irons, or I can't justify $600. I'm like, because I know that's not what they actually cost. So I know that everybody wants to make money, but holy smokes,
it's like you're telling me Santa Claus isn't real. You mean that's not what they actually cost?
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah,
it's funny. You just mentioned that with the drivers, and thinking back to years ago when they had a driver A and a driver B. It's like now they create one driver but have 3 different heads for it and 4 different shaft alignment. Technology. It's going back to the whole fitting thing that has to make things exponentially, I don't want to say more difficult, but it creates a lot more variables for somebody.
It does
looking at a new driver. So
right, between that and then also, I mean, you got to think about like, I mean, one thing for like Golf Galaxies or Dick's Sporting Goods, or they can carry so many different models of drivers, so where they can have a stiff shaft in this and an extra stiff in this. But when you start running into like pro shops at golf courses, they don't want to they don't have such a high inventory level. And so it's like, more often than not, that's why a lot of pro shops, you'll see that they don't have a ton of golf clubs in stock, because it's like, no, we should just fit you and we'll special order what you need. Yeah. It's like gone are the days where you go into a pro shop and go, oh, this driver, I like this one, and you buy it. It's like more often than not, you talk to your pro and you say, let's do a fitting or let's do whatever, and then you just special order something because there's just so many options out there now with fittings.
Well, and yeah, and you can, I mean, you can even do that at a Golf Galaxy now because they all have simulators and you can go in and test the different driver heads and the different angles and lofts and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely changed, but yeah, it's crazy to see the technology they put behind not only the clubs, but the big sellers are these drivers now, and they do these big releases for, each year the manufacturers will have those releases, and you see all the big red TaylorMade boxes getting delivered to everybody, and Pat McAfee's throwing them across the room. Saying take a hike TaylorMade. Next thing you know, Callaway is sending him 13 drivers.
That was fantastic. That was
until he found out it was a gift from Aaron Rodgers. Then he apologized.
Then he had to eat crow on that one. Yeah, I was like, whoops, sorry about that.
Yeah, he didn't realize it was a gift from a friend. Just thought TaylorMade was sending him a club, and he's I don't know if he's officially a Callaway guy now. I know they've sent him some product and stuff like that, but he talks every day about how he's a Callaway guy. So I would assume so. If I got a driver from TaylorMade and like a bunch more stuff from Callaway, I would probably lean more towards Callaway just based on pure volume of what I've received. So exactly. So cool. Well, that's good to hear, man. It's at least you got out and swung them. I haven't touched club in month or so, probably. It feels like at least a couple weeks anyway. So interesting to see those numbers and see what's out there, I guess. So
I was glad I didn't walk out of there with a charge on the plastic. So I'm glad I held strong.
I'd be willing to bet your wife was probably pretty happy about that too. So
yeah, absolutely. That wasn't going to go well.
So cool. Well, it's probably a good time to wrap up here. So we said,
a little fireside chat.
Catching up, talking a little golf. So we do have there are some other folks that we've talked to about coming on the podcast. So we'll try and get some more guests on here, but maybe we'll get out to the range at some point, hit some balls, and work on our games, and we'll get all these golf trips planned out and have some more details to share with everybody. So
right around the corner, it'll be here before you know it. So
I know. So good stuff. Well, as always, follow the podcast on Instagram at Player B Podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Give us a follow on Instagram as well at Club Tour Ohio and at Punch Out Golf. And leave us a comment if you know of any games or contests we can do while we're playing a handful of rounds up there at the Penn Ohio Golf Trail.
Exactly. Yeah. Drop us the comment on it. Probably not the beer hole. I don't really want to do that because so we'll just delete those comments if someone's like, you guys should do a beer hole and record it. I'm not really up for that. So
nobody needs to hear a podcast after we've done beer a hole. That's for sure.
That would not be a good podcast.
Oh boy.
All-time record low downloads on that one. So
yeah, exactly. So all right. Well, appreciate it. Good catching up, and we'll do
absolutely
this next week.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. We'll see you.
Adios.
Later.